Hey guys, on this occasion I would like to talk to you about using the right word meaning. It is obvious that for us as translators, it's a very important trait to have a very rich lexicon, to have a very large vocabulary. It is very important because obviously it makes our work easier and faster, right? The more words you know, the less time you spend looking them up in a dictionary, right? Now, an efficient translator works all the time. He or she works all the time in increasing his or her vocabulary. This is something that we do all the time. This is a constant commitment that we take to ourselves. Obviously, this is something that you do all the time, right? So if you want to become an efficient translator, you need to keep on working on improving your vocabulary. Still, it doesn't matter how many words we know, how many words we learn, we will always be faced with the fact that we don't know every word. And we might know the words, but because there are so many meanings contained in specific words, what I mean to say is that one word can have several meanings. It is really difficult for us to know all of these meanings, or maybe to know them, but maybe we can know them, but we don't remember them at a specific moment, right? So this is very important that we understand that yes, we need to work on our vocabulary, but eventually we will face words that we do not know. So if that happens, what do we do, guys? Well, we have different tools that we can make use of when we find words we don't know. So the main one I would say is the use of dictionaries. We can use bilingual dictionaries, monolingual dictionaries, picture dictionaries, right? And we may use a bilingual dictionary if we know what the word is in our native language, like in our case Spanish, but we have forgotten at the moment, right? That happens from time to time. It happens that you know the word, but you only remember the word in English, you don't remember it in Spanish. So you grab your bilingual dictionary and you go, okay, yeah, this is the word that I meant to use, right? A monolingual dictionary it's a very important tool because that helps us to understand unknown terms, right? There are words that we really don't know in English, so we make use of our monolingual dictionaries and we can find a definition for those words, we can find collocations for those words, we can find idioms where those words used. It depends on the dictionary you're using, right? I usually prefer to work with learner dictionaries. They are very useful, and I recommend you do the same. I like paper dictionaries, but some people prefer to have digital dictionaries, and they offer even the choice to look for the pronunciation of a specific word, right? We also have picture dictionaries, even though they are not maybe that commonplace nowadays, but we can also find picture dictionaries, and they help us especially when we are looking for, I don't know, how to name a fruit, how to name a vegetable, how to name a tool that we use in the garage. I don't know. For any of those visual ideas, those visual concrete objects, picture dictionaries are really good. Another tool that we need to have is another kind of dictionary. It's a thesaurus, so we can look for synonyms and antonyms. Thesauruses or thesaurus, I don't remember, but a thesaurus is a very helpful tool to make use of when we are doing translation. Now, we can also we can also seek the help of other translators and specialists in the field of interests. In other words, sometimes another translator can tell you the word you mean to use. Some other times maybe you can look for a person who is working in the field for which you are translating. If you are translating a medical document, then maybe you can look for a doctor or a nurse or an X-ray technician. It depends on what you are working on. Then we also have some forums that we can find in these websites and online dictionaries, like in the case of wordreference.com. They have forums that we can make use of. Translators make use of these forums when they are not really sure how they should translate a word or a phrase or an idiom, or they have or they are hesitant on two possibilities for the translation of a word, right? Now, it is very, very, very important to consider the context. If we ignore the context, then we are going to be having a very hard time in order to understand what word we should use when we are translating. Now, I chose that picture because it is a contextual picture, right? What is that? Is that two faces about to kiss? Or is it a cup? Is it a cup that is over there in the, well, more like a goblet, right? It's more like a goblet that is right in the middle of the two faces. I don't know, it depends. Context is very important. What do you see? Most likely we are going to see the two faces because we are inclined to finding these kind of figures, right, like human shapes. But context is very, very important because context will dictate the right meaning of the word that we are going to be using in Spanish, in our case, right? Or in English if we are translating from English to Spanish, but normally we translate to our native language or to the language which we have mastered the most. Let's talk about choice. Now, we choose from a list of meanings of a word. Sometimes it happens. There are some words that have lots and lots of meanings. For example, I have given you some choices, right, of words that I would like you to go ahead and take a look at. The meaning of period, the meaning of get, the meaning of pan, the meaning of raise. Look up those words, look up for the meaning of those words and see how many different meanings you can find for those words. And you will also realize that without taking into consideration the context, you might not be making the most appropriate translation, right? Homonym lists are also very useful to deal with polysemy. In other words, when we understand homonyms, we are going to be able to understand the different meanings that words possess and to keep this in mind when we are doing our translations. It so happens that sometimes we even create new terms because they are non-existent in our language. This is not something that happens a lot, but from time to time it might happen that you need to create the word in your language because we don't have a word that fits, and whatever transformation in the language pattern, in the language structure that we make will not really fulfill the role or the impact that using this word will have in our translation. So somehow it happens sometimes. I understand that especially the Spanish language is very picky with those extranjerismos, right? With those words that we use from other languages. Spanish speakers, especially people from Spain, they don't really like us to do that, right? You know it. You can see that, for example, here in Latin America, we use mouse, right? They don't like to use mouse. They prefer to use ratón. Computer, we have we have made a calc of computer and we say computadora, but many of those people prefer to say ordenador. But well, the point is not that right now. The point is that you as a translator must revise your work constantly. I have some examples for you. I have two examples actually. I have two examples that I would like you to take a look at. I'm gonna read the first one. He would conduct business on the basketball court. He decided the same way he conducted business at his software firm. I want you to check that I have used the italics in conduct business, right? This is the problematic term that we are going to be facing. I am going to show you the first version of this translation. Él decidió que conduciría su negocio en la cancha de baloncesto de la misma manera que conducía su negocio en su empresa de programas de computadoras. There's something off, right? There's something alien in that version. The grammar pattern has been adapted, yes, to the target language, but there is an issue with the phrase conducir su negocio. It sounds a little off, okay? Here is an improved version. Él decidió que haría las cosas en la cancha de baloncesto de la misma manera que hacía negocios en su empresa de programas de computadoras. That's better. That's more natural for us in Spanish to read it that way. A second example, the second example that I want to share with you is this. The commander had radioed ahead to the Vatican and sent additional undercover guards. Let's see at the first version of this translation. Before, I want you to check that the word that has been turned in italics is ahead, right? The first version. El comandante había llamado por radio adelante del Vaticano y había enviado guardias encubiertos adicionales. This translation gives you the feeling of location, right? It definitely gives you the feeling of location. It says, el comandante había llamado por radio adelante del Vaticano. Yes, so it gives you an idea of location, which is not really what we mean, right? There is something that doesn't fit contextually. Checking the meaning of ahead, we are going to find two meanings of this word used as an adverb, okay? You can find it as adelante or delante and antes or anteriormente. Now, it makes more sense to use it with a meaning of time. Here is the revised version. El comandante había llamado por radio antes de llegar al Vaticano y había enviado guardias encubiertos adicionales. So, over there you can observe that somehow that reads more naturally. It's like, okay, that fits, that makes sense now. So in here lies the importance of enriching our vocabulary constantly. It helps us to make the translation process more efficient. However, we will always find terms, as I told you, that need double checking, okay? It is easy to commit mistranslations if we are careless, okay? So you want to be careful with this. And now I ask you, how would you approach a material that has many new terms? Would you prefer to work independently, or would you rather ask for help? Would you ask a coworker to give you a hand with it, or would you consult with someone that knows about the area? That's something that you need to consider. Sometimes we need the help of others. That is going to be all for this video, guys. Have a great day.